Hi and welcome to this course, Build Pizza Restaurant Website using PHP. My name is Mustafa Alawi. I'm a software developer and entrepreneur with several years of experience. I have taught more than 3,000 students online and offline several courses in web development, software development, and entrepreneurship, and I have worked as a consultant on various projects helping local businesses. In this course, you will learn how to build a complete pizza restaurant using PHP. And I'm going to teach you everything from the very beginning all the way to allowing your customers to pay, and you will be able to monitor the system and start delivering pizzas to your customers. So you will be taught how to add pizza to cart, how to increase and decrease the number of meals that your customers want to buy, and also you will be taught how to check out. So your customers will be able to check out, and as soon as a customer places an order, you will be notified. You will know that an order has been inserted in the system, and you can start delivering the pizza as soon as the order is inserted in the database. Moreover, you will be taught how to allow your customers to pay using PayPal. I'm going to teach you how to incorporate PayPal into your website so that you receive money from your customers. All of these things will be taught in this course to make sure that you build a complete pizza restaurant website. Who is this course for? Well, it's very important to know who is this course for so that you make the right decision whether you should take this course or not. And I'm going to be helping you by providing you with the groups that should definitely take this course. So the first group that should take this course is developers who want to specialize in building e-commerce websites. If you really want to specialize in building e-commerce websites, then this is your opportunity. This course will provide you with the skills required to build a complete e-commerce website. The second group that should consider taking this course is programmers who want to become professional PHP developers. Becoming a professional PHP developer takes a lot of time and requires learning so many skills, and this course will cover a lot of skills that are required to become a professional PHP developer. And by taking this course, you will have added so many skills to your to your skills and knowledge in PHP. What is expected after taking this course? Well, after taking this course, first of all, you will have robust understanding of an e-commerce website and its structure. Second, you will have created a complete pizza restaurant website using PHP. Third, you will have learned important and new skills. And finally, you will be able to apply for PHP web developer positions confidently because you will have created and built a complete e-commerce website using PHP. If you have any questions about this course, let me know and I'll be glad to answer them. You can contact me on my website commoncode.com. So what tools do you need for this course? Well, for this course you need, first of all, you need a reliable IDE or text editor. And my recommendation is that you install Visual Studio Code, where you can install it from code.visualstudio.com. You can head on over to that link, code.visualstudio.com, and then install it. For Mac, it's going to say here download for Mac, and you can just click on this and install it as if you are installing any Mac program on your Mac. If you are using Windows, you can select it from here, and it's gonna say here download for Windows by default, or you can click here if it doesn't say that, and you can select your Windows here. You can select Windows and download the version from here, and you can also install, and you should also install it as if you are installing a program on your Windows. So this is the first thing. And if you already have a reliable text editor or IDE that you feel comfortable coding with, then you don't need to install Visual Studio Code. But if you don't, I'd recommend using Visual Studio Code. So this is the first thing that you need. The second thing that you need is that you need to install XAMPP. XAMPP is gonna allow you to install PHP in order to use PHP for this course. And you can install it from apachefriends.org. You can head on over to apachefriends.org. And I'll be showing you how to completely install XAMPP on Mac and also on Windows in the next tutorials. apachefriends.org, you will be able to install XAMPP, where you can install PHP and the Apache server and also MySQL database. And you can download the XAMPP application depending upon your operating system. So I'm going to click here on click here for other versions and choose your operating system. And I'm going to choose XAMPP for Mac, and the version is going to be 7.2. So this one, I'm going to download this one. Click on download. And once it's finished, you can now open the installer. And the process is very, very simple and straightforward. For all operating systems, you can just click on a few nexts and it will install XAMPP for you. So if you are using Mac, then you can follow along. If you are using another operating system, then the process is very, very similar and it's self-explanatory. And it might ask you for your PC or Mac password, so you need to type it. And it will open a wizard where you can just click on a few nexts and it will install XAMPP for you. So here, once here it opens this wizard, click on next, and then make sure you check these two and click on next. And then here it says that it will be installed, XAMPP will be installed inside applications/XAMPP folder. Click on next. And you can check or uncheck this if you wish to learn more about XAMPP. And then finally, just click on next and it will start downloading. Finally, once it's finished, you will find that XAMPP has been installed in your applications. So as you can see here, I have XAMPP, and these are all of the files. In order to use PHP version 7, you need to head on over to your terminal and make sure that you are using PHP version 7. So here I'm going to type PHP and then version hyphen version or V, and here it says 7.2. And if it doesn't say here PHP 7.2, then you need to make sure that you add XAMPP to your path. And in order to do so, just open your bash profile. And inside bash profile, make sure to add these two lines at the end of the file. Path equals to /applications/XAMPP, all capital letters, and then /XAMPP files, /bin, and then colon, and then $path, and then export that path. So these two lines are very important in case your Mac is using PHP version other than 7.2. So make sure you add these two lines in your .bash profile and then save. Make sure that you save. After that, click on save. And of course, you need to close the terminal and open a new terminal. And make sure that you are now using PHP version 7. So once XAMPP is installed, you will find it among your applications. So if I click on this manager, it will open it for me. And it might ask you for your PC or Mac password. And then go to manage servers. And first of all, you need to run the Apache web server. Click on start and wait until here it says running. And once here it says running, you can start your MySQL database. Click on check it or click on it and then click on start. Once here it says running, you will be able to work with the Apache web server and your MySQL database. And by the way, if it forcefully goes back to stopped, either the Apache web server or the MySQL database, then you might need to restart your PC or your Mac. Once these two are running, go to welcome and then head on over to go to application and click on it, and it will open the localhost. And here in the localhost, you can check information about your PHP installation and your database as well. So if I go to PHP My Admin, it will open PHP My Admin where I can manage my databases and tables and do operations on them. And by the way, whenever you are working, just keep the Apache web server open and running, and also the MySQL database running all the time, because otherwise you won't be able to work with the database and insert data and get data and all of that good stuff.
First of all, to download PHP, we are going to download XAMPP. So click XAMPP inside Google, and now you have this website, apacheprints.org. Click on it. And now you have all the downloads for all the operating systems available. Click on the one that you are using. I'm using Windows, so I'm gonna click on Windows, and here it says the version of PHP. It's 7.2. Click on it, and it's gonna start downloading. And after it's finished, what you need to do is just click a few nexts, and you are good to go. And this is here a short video that tells you how to do so. It's just a few nexts. It's not difficult at all. I'm going to stop here downloading because I already installed it. So after installation, you should find it here. As you can see, I already have it. So if you click on if you search after installation for XAMPP, you have the control panel. Click on it, and you have this panel. And the one that we are going to use is the Apache, the server, so that we make our computer as a server. You need to click on Start, and the MySQL as well, so that we can use MySQL. You need also to click on Start.
So in order to add PHP to your environment, first of all, you need to open the environment variables from your start menu and then click on environment variables. And then scroll in the system variables and then select path and open the path. And then here you should find that you have XAMPP PHP. You should have /XAMPP/PHP. If you don't, you need to click on new and then you need to add it. You need to add C and then :/XAMPP/PHP. And once you have done that, all you need to do is that you need to click on OK and then OK. This is gonna add PHP to your path where you will be able to use PHP from any location in your Windows 10. Now, if you open the CMD and type PHP-V, it's gonna work. And here, if you open the terminal in Visual Studio Code and just type PHP-V, it's gonna print out the PHP and it's gonna here tell you that PHP exists. So this is how you can add PHP to your path in Windows. Welcome back. So now it's time to start working on the project. So the first step is that I'm going to create our project folder. So to create the project folder, you need to create it in a location where it's easy for you to access. So I'm going to create it on my desktop because it's easy for me to access. So on my desktop here, I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to here right click and then I'm going to create a new folder and then I'm going to name it. You can name it whatever you want. I'm going to name my project. I'm going to name it PHP_project. You can name it whatever you want, but it's important to give it a name that is meaningful. So I'm going to name it PHP project, and then I'm going to hit enter, and now I have this folder. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to drag this folder and drop it onto my Visual Studio Code, and it will be opened in Visual Studio Code. As you can see, the project is now opened in Visual Studio Code. Now we can start working on the project. Now this is the folder is called PHP_project. So it's an empty folder. It's just an empty folder, and This is the starting point. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to include a template. And in this course, I'm going to be using this template because this is not an HTML and CSS course. This is PHP course. Therefore, I'm going to be using this template for this course. And I'm going to leave this template to you so that you can follow along. And if you already have a template that you want to use, go ahead and use it. However, I'd recommend using this template so that you understand the process, how to include it, and to follow along as well. And then you can use your template later. So let me show you how we can include this template into our project. The first step is that you need to open both the template and the project side by side. So on the left side I have the project folder. As you can see, this is the project folder, and on the right side I have the files, the template, basically the template. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna select all of the files, and then I'm gonna copy them, right click and then copy the 11 items because they are 11 items, and then in my project here I'm gonna paste them. I'm gonna right click and then I'm gonna click paste the items here. If I click on paste items, all of the items will be integrated into my project now. As you can see here, this is my project now, and I have these files. So these are the files that I'm going to be using, and this is the template basically that I'm going to be using in this course, and it's going to look like this, something like this, which is amazing. And again, if you have your own template, you can go ahead and use your own template. However, I recommend using this template for now so that you understand the complete process. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to run our project. So to run our project, the first step is that we need to make sure that your Apache web server is up and running. So you need to open XAMPP and then make sure that your SQL here, MySQL database is running. Click on start. And also the Apache web server. You need to select the Apache web server and then click on start. And you need to wait a few seconds, and here it's gonna the status will change to running. So make sure that the status is running for both, for MySQL database and Apache web server. The next step is that we need to convert the index.html to PHP. So I'm going to rename the index. I'm going to rename this file index.php because we need to convert this to PHP. The third and last step is that we need to run this template in the browser. And to do this, you need to click on View and then Terminal and then type the following command. You need to type PHP and then minus capital S and then local host and then colon 8000 and then hit enter. And once you hit enter, this is going to start a server. As you can see, this is the server. This is the URL. You need to copy this and then head on over to the browser. And then head on over to the browser. I'm going to open the browser. And in the browser, just paste this the URL and hit enter. And once you hit enter, this is going to run the template. As you can see, the template will be displayed here in the browser. So this is how you can use this port, which is localhost 8000. And now, as you can see in the browser, we have the template now is working. Welcome back. Now it's time to create the database. And in order to create the database, the first step is that you need to make sure that your Apache web server as well as your MySQL database both running. Make sure that they are up and running. And then you need to head on over to the browser and then you need to type localhost/dashboard. And this is going to take you to the Apache web server, and you will be able to create a database. After you go to this address, localhost/dashboard, you can click on phpMyAdmin. And here you can create a database. Let's create a database. In order to create a database, you need to click on New here on the left upper side of the website. So here I'm going to click on New, and this is going to allow you to type the name of the database. So here I'm going to type the name of the database. I'm going to name it PHP project. So here I'm going to say PHP underscore project, and then I'm going to click on create. After you click on create, you will find that on the left side a database has been created and its name is PHP underscore project. So make sure that it has been created, and if you click on it, it will just here display no tables found in this database because there are no tables, but the database has been created. Welcome back. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add the tables that we need to the database. So remember the database that I created, which is PHP project, PHP underscore project. So in order to create the tables, you have two options. The first option is to type the name of the table, and then manually you need to type the name of columns and specify all of these things manually, or you can use SQL. So I have here this code that will allow me to create these tables quickly without the need of typing everything. So for example, I have here the products table, which will have the product ID, the product name, the category, etc. We have also orders, order items, users, all of these things. So instead of typing all of these and creating all of these tables manually, I'm gonna copy this this code, and then I'm gonna paste it in the SQL. You need to select first your database, this database, PHP project, and then click on SQL, and then you need to paste the code here. You need to paste that code here, and then click on Go, and this is going to insert these tables. So as you can see, the products table has ID, name, category, description, etc. So this is how you can create a table quickly by using SQL. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to connect to the database. And to connect to the database, we need to establish that connection by creating a PHP code that would connect to the database. And to do that, I'm going to create a new file here called connection.php. And then inside that file, we need to establish the connection. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say here PHP, and then inside that code, here inside that PHP script, what we want is that we need to create a variable here called con with double n, and then it's going to be equal to mysqli underscore connect. So this function is going to allow you to connect to the database. So this function takes 4 parameters. The first parameter is the host name. So the host name is localhost. You can check the database credentials if you go to localhost/phpMyAdmin. Again, you need to make sure that your Apache web server and MySQL database both up and running so that you can access the localhost phpMyAdmin from your browser. So you can click on user accounts, and in the user accounts you will find the credentials that you can use. So the one that I'm using and the one that I recommend using is root, localhost, and the password is nothing, and the global privileges is all privileges. So this is the one that I'm going to be using. Again, the host name is localhost, the username is root, the password is nothing. The global privileges is all privileges. So let's use these. Here, the first parameter is the host name, which is localhost. And you need to make sure that the spelling is correct. The second is the username. So the username is root. The third is the password. So the password is nothing. So we pass here empty quotes, and then comma. The last parameter is the database. So the database is database. Remember, the name of the database is PHP underscore project. Again, that's PHP underscore project. So here I'm going to say PHP underscore project, and then After that, we need to say, or in a new line, I'm going to say, or die. And then inside that die, we need to type a message in case we couldn't connect to the database. So we need to say here, could not connect to database. So let me explain this code one more time. This code, whenever we use this code, and we will be using this code a lot, this file, whenever we use this file is going to try to connect to the database using this credential. It's going to try to connect using the localhost and the root and it's going to try to connect to the PHP underscore project database. If it connects successfully to the database, then we can continue. If we couldn't connect to the database for some reason, it will die, it will stop executing any PHP code below it, and it will display this error message. It will say couldn't connect to database. Pretty simple and straightforward. Lastly, you just need to click on File and then Save All, and we are good to go. Welcome back. Now it's time to learn how to add products to your database. So in order to add a product to the database, the first step is that you need to make sure that your Apache web server and MySQL database both are running. So make sure that they are running using XAMPP. The next step is that you need to head on over to the browser and then type localhost/php myadmin. Now I'm going to open the database, which is this database, and then we need to open the products table. So this is the products table. I'm going to click on it, and then we need to click on here insert, and then we can now insert a new product. So here I'm going to insert a new product. So the product that I'm going to insert here, product name, I'm going to say pizza with cheese. This is just an example. The product ID, you need to leave it empty because the ID is always given by the database. So just keep it empty. Now the product description. So the product description is a description of this meal. So for example, you can say here pizza with cheese and onion, like this. And then the product category. So the product category is going to depend upon how you categorize your products. For example, if you have pizza and other meals, you can have two categories or three categories. One of them is pizza, and the other one is something else, such as sandwiches, things like that. So here, the product category, I'm going to say pizza because this is obviously pizza. Product type, here also the product type is going to depend upon how you give types to your products. I'm going to say here meal, which means that it will contain pizza with for example cola and salad, something like this. Product image. The product image is the most important one because it's a little tricky. So the product image, first of all, you need to have an image. So I have this image. Let me open the image. This is the image. This is the image of the pizza. You need to know the name of that image. So the name of this image is pizza-1.jpg. So I'm going to say here pizza-1.jpg. Again, that's pizza. As you can see, it's pizza-1.jpg. So this is the first step. The second step is that we need to add this pizza image into our project folder. So I'm going to open our project folder. So this is the project folder. I'm going to open the images folder. And then I'm going to drag this image and then drop it onto the project folder. As you can see, this is the image. Finally, you need to give a price. So the product price. The price, I'm going to say here Here I'm gonna say, for example, 90. Special offer, product special offer. For example, the special offer is 0, which means that there is no special offer. And then I'm gonna click on go, and this is gonna insert the product into the database. So as you can see, the product has been inserted into the database. So I have inserted now so many different products here in the database, in the products table. And I want you to do so because you need to have at least 10 products, 10 meals in order to continue working on the project. Because if you don't have so many, or at least 10 products, we will not be able to continue because we need to get the products and display the products in the front end. So now what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna create a script that's gonna pull out data, pull out these products and display them in my application. So I'm gonna here click on this to create a new file, and I'm gonna name this file get underscore products.php. And then here the first thing that we need to do is that we need to open a PHP script, and then we need to include the connection because we need obviously to connect to the database. So I'm gonna say here include, and then what I'm gonna include is that I'm gonna include the connection. I'm gonna say connection.php. And then the next thing that we need to do is that we need to create a variable here. I'm gonna say statement stmt is equal to, and then I'm gonna say con, because if you open the connection you'll find that we have a variable called con. So we need to say con, and then prepare, I'm gonna call the prepare, and then I'm gonna say select, and then asterisk, because we need to select all from, and then the name of the table is products. And then we need to execute this. So I'm gonna say statement, and then execute, and then execute. This is gonna execute this. This is gonna execute the query in order to get the products from the database. And finally, we need to say statement stmt and then get underscore result. And then we need to store this in a variable called products. I'm going to create a variable called products. Products is equal to this. And now this products variable will contain all of the products that we have in the database. So this is why I am telling you that you need to insert at least 10 meals. Here you need to insert at least 10 meals so that you get these and you will be able to continue working on the project. And finally, we need to click on File and then Save. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to display the products. So the first step in order to display the products, first make sure that your server is up and running. So in order to make sure your server is up and running, you need to type PHP minus capital S as I have shown you, and then localhost 8000 in order to run your project in the on this server on the local host. And in the browser you can type localhost and then colon 8000, and it will display the file. The next step is that we need to rename the products file. This products, instead of saying products.html, we need to rename it, and then we need to say products.php. Now in the browser, if you go to localhost 8000 and then /products.php and hit enter, you will find that we have the products. However, these products are not the real products. These products are hard-coded. So we have a problem here. Since these are hard-coded products, we don't want to display them. Instead, we need to display the products that we added in our products table. Remember the products that we added. Remember, I told you you need to add at least 10 products, because these products we will need to get these products and display these products here. Let's now do this. So the first step is that we need to open the products.php, and then we need to scroll all the way until we find the products. We need to find these products. So these products are start from here, from here, from here. This is the first one. Let me show you where it is. This is the first one. Let me close it. This is the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. So we have 6 products here. I'm gonna remove all of them, and I'm gonna keep only one. So I'm gonna remove, let me show you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna remove this, this, and this, and I'm gonna keep only one. And let me save and let me refresh. Now we should have only one product. So we have only one. Now we need to use the code, this code, in order to get the product. So here, what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna first say PHP, and then include, and what we want to include is that we want to include the script that we created earlier, which is get products. We need to say here get underscore products dot php, and then we need to loop over the products, because if you open the get products, you'll find that we have a variable called products. So we need to say here php, and then for each products as product, and then open a curly bracket, only open it, and then at the end we need to close it. We need here to say PHP and then close the curly bracket. And in between now we need to display the real information about each product. So instead of saying here Italian pizza, we need to remove this, and instead we need to say PHP and then echo, and what we want to echo is that we want to echo the product, and then name, product name. So here I'm gonna say product underscore name, because in the database, remember, in the database we have here product name, description, product category, type, image, price, special offer. So we have these, and here semicolon. Next we need to display the description here. I'm gonna remove this, and then I'm gonna say again PHP and then echo, and what we want to echo now is that we want to echo product and then product description, Next we want the image. So for the image I'm gonna remove this. Here we have this style, background image, and here images / and then the name of the image. So we need to remove this, only this part, and then we need to say PHP and then echo, don't forget to say echo, and then product, and then product image, product underscore image, and then semicolon. Next we need to display the price, so I'm going to remove this here, and then I'm going to say PHP and then product and then product price, product underscore price, and then semicolon, and we are done. Let's now save and test. Let me save everything, save all, and let me test. I'm gonna refresh here the products.php. I'm gonna refresh, and boom, we have all of the products. So as you can see, we have all of the products, but we have a problem with the price. We should say product here price. In the database we have product price. Let me make sure that this is correct. So we need to display here we need to say echo here. I forgot to say echo. Let me refresh one more time, and as you can see now we have all of the products. And also you can here say you can if you want to edit the image further, you can add styles to it, but I think it's perfect. I think it's great. So I'm gonna get all of the products. So this is why I'm telling you need to add real products. So these products, let me prove it to you. The first product is spicy pizza with crispy chicken. Here, spicy pizza with crispy chicken. The second one is crispy chicken sandwich. Here, crispy chicken sandwich uh, pizza. So this is the second one, the third, the fourth. So now we got all of the products, and also the price is being displayed. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to work on the order button, so that once the user clicks on it, it takes that product and adds that product to the cart. So let me open our project, and then in the products here, if you scroll, you'll find that we have a button called order here, this button. So instead of this button, we need to create a form. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna create a form here. I'm gonna say form first, and I'm gonna give this form two things, method and action. The method is gonna be post, and the action is gonna be cart.php. And then inside that form, we need to store the data that we want to take with us once the user clicks on order now. So the first input that we want to create is going to be a hidden input. I'm going to say type hidden, and that is going to be the name of this input is going to be product name. I'm going to say here product name. But before the name, we need the ID. So I'm going to say product underscore ID, which is the first thing, and then the value. So the value is going to be PHP, and then echo, and then what we want to echo is that we want to echo the product here, product, and then product ID, product underscore ID. And now we need to say here semicolon, and then we need to repeat this but store different things. So what we want to store, let me copy this and then paste it here many times. We need to paste it like 5 or 6 times because we want to take with us different things. We need to take with us the ID and then the name, and here is going to be name, here name. We also want the description. I'm going to say description, and here description, and then we want the price, and then here price. We also want the special offer. I'm going to say special underscore offer, and here product special offer. We also want the category, and here category. And finally we need, let me check the database, we need the quantity. The quantity is going to be 1. By default the quantity is 1, so there is no need for working on the quantity here, because in the cart the user will be able to decrease or increase the quantity. So now we are done here. The last thing that we need to create is an input, and that input is the type of that input is going to be submit, and the value is order, and we need to remove this a tag. We no longer need this a tag. I'm going to remove it. Let me save and let me refresh. So if I refresh, as you can see, we will have this order button. this order button. Of course, if you click on it, it's not going to work yet, but we have this button, order button, which is this submit button, and the type, make sure that the type is submit. The value of this is order. The last input that I'm gonna also create is the image. So I'm gonna say product image, product underscore image, and here product underscore image, and we are done with this part. Let me save, and we are done. Welcome back. Now what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna reorganize my project in order for the project to be very organized, and for me it's gonna be easier to work with it. So I'm gonna create a new folder here, and I'm gonna name it assets, and I'm gonna move all of the assets. Assets are things such as CSS, JavaScript, and SCSS, and images. So I have now assets. I'm gonna move the CSS. I'm gonna move it inside the assets, as well as the fonts, the images, the JavaScript, and the SCSS. So now all of my assets are inside the assets folder. I have CSS, images, fonts, JavaScript, and SCSS. However, we need to change the URL, because now if you open the index, you'll find that we are using CSS without the assets. So we need to say before CSS, we need to say assets, and then / and then CSS. So we need to do this for all CSS, JavaScript, and fonts URL. So I'm going to say here assets, and then / CSS, and here assets, and here assets, and here assets. So it's going to take some time. However, it's important, because when you have only one folder, it's going to be super easy for you to work with the project rather than having so many different directories. Now the main folder is the assets. So I'm going to say here assets, and also if you have any image, you need to say the same exact thing. You need to say assets first. For example, here we have images. Before images, we need to say assets, and then / and then images. So you need to scroll slowly so that you find every single URL that you are using in this template. So as you can see, I have so many URLs. So again, you need to scroll slowly so that you modify all of these URLs. Again, this is very important because down the line, later, it's going to be very easy for you to work with your project if your project is organized. And if your project is not organized, it's going to be difficult for you, especially when the project gets bigger and bigger. And when you have so many folders, it's going to be difficult for you to work with it. So I think I am almost done with this file. Here as well, and here as well, assets, and here. And also here, and here, and here, and here. Now we need to check other files if we have URLs in the other files. So I'm done with this. I'm almost done with this. I still have these, but I'm gonna work on them later. Let me say here assets, and here assets. Now let me check other files. So we are done with the index. but again you need to make sure that you have changed the directory of all of these. Also in the products, let me open the products and make sure that the URL is assets. For example, here we need to say assets first, assets, and then / images, and we are done. We are done. We have these, but these hard-coded. We shouldn't worry about the hard-coded images because we will get the data from the database here, and we are done. Let me save and let me open the terminal, and let me run my project. So I'm gonna say PHP and then localhost 8000, and let me check that in the browser. So I'm gonna say here localhost 8000, and let me make sure that I have all of the images. So if this happens, if it keeps loading, you need to open the index, and then in the bottom we need also to change all of these JavaScript files. We need to say assets and then JavaScript. So it's gonna take a little bit, a couple of minutes to change these. So let me change all of these. And here as well. And this one. And this one. And this one. And finally this and this. And this one. And this one. And we are done. Let me save and let me refresh. And as you can see, it's gonna work. Now it's gonna work and it's gonna return everything. So now it's working. Let me check the products.php. So here, the products.php, we have a problem. We need to open the products.php, and then we need to change at the top. We have all of these. So instead of changing these manually, I already changed them in the index. So in the index, I can now copy the header, which is this part. Now this part from here, this part from here all the way to the end of this head, and then in the products I'm gonna paste it at the top here. We need to remove this part, and then paste the one that includes the assets. Also in the index, also in the footer, we need to get the footer, which is this part. This part, I'm gonna copy it, and then in the bottom I'm gonna remove these lines, and then I'm gonna paste the ones that include the assets. Let me now refresh, and as you can see, it's working. But here it says connection. We have a problem in line 4. So the reason for this error is because my Apache web server is not running. Let me start this server, and also the PHP, also the MySQL. Let me now refresh, and the error will be gone. So as you can see, the error is gone, and now we have the menu. So now it's working, and we need to do the same to all of these files. So what I want you to do is that I want you to copy the header and the footer and change all of these headers and footers so that all of them will include the assets URL. Another thing that we need to pass with us here when user clicks on the order button is the quantity. So the quantity is going to be 1 by default, and then the user can increase it later. So I'm going to say here input, and then type, and the type is going to be hidden, and then name, the name is going to be product quantity, product underscore quantity, and then value. The value is going to be 1. So the user, by default, we will allow the user to add one product, one item, and then the user can increase or decrease this from the cart page. So we are done with this part. Let me save, and we are done with this part. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to convert this cart.html to cart.php. So I'm going to rename this. Cart.php. And we need to run and test. So I'm going to open the terminal, and then I'm going to say php minus capital S, and then localhost 8000. Now in the browser I'm going to go to localhost 8000. However, I'm going to say /cart.php. And if I say cart.php, as you can see, this is the cart page. However, we don't have anything yet in the cart. This is just a hard-coded product. So this is the cart page. It's going to look like this. We want to get products that the user has added to cart using PHP. So to do this, what we want to do is that at the top here, we need to add a PHP code that would do this. So at the top, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say PHP, and then what we want to do is that we want to use the session in order to do this. So here we need to say session start. This is the first step. The first step is that we need to call a function called session start because we are going to be using the session. The second step is that we need to we need to make sure that the session has products. So we need to check whether the session is empty or not, and that can be done using the set function. So I'm going to say here if is set, and then session, and then I'm going to store the products in a key called cart. So if this is set, it means that there is a product or products. So if this is set, it means that there is at least one product in the cart. So if there is at least one product, then we need to get that product from the session. So here, if user has already added something in the session, something in the cart. So at this point, what we want to do is that we want to get these products, the IDs of these products, and to do this, we need to use a function, a PHP function called array underscore column, and then this array column takes two parameters. The first parameter is the array, which is the session, because the session will start products in a form of array. So this session cart will store products as an array. So it's going to be an array of products, and then inside it, and then the second parameter that the array column takes is the product ID, is the key that we want to use. So I'm gonna be using a key called product ID. This product ID represents the ID of each product. We created a table, the products table, and each product will have an ID and that the key of that ID is product ID. So that way, this array column function is going to return. This is going to return all of the IDs of the product that have been added to the cart. So I'm going to store this in a variable called products underscore array underscore IDs. So this is going to return an array of the IDs of the products. So for example, if the user added 3 products and each product has an ID, for example 55, 88, 90, this this array column is going to return only these IDs. So why do we want these IDs? The reason why we want these IDs is because we want to use it in order to be able to check the which product has been added to the cart and which product has not been added to the cart. Because if user wants to add more products, we want to make sure that this product has not been added to the cart. So here we need to say if, and then we need to here use a function called in underscore array to check whether the product has been added to cart or not. So I'm going to negate this. I'm going to say if is not in the array, and then I'm going to pass two parameters. The first parameter is the post request, and then I'm going to say here product ID, product underscore ID, and then the second parameter is going to be the products array IDs. So let me explain. This if statement is going to check if product has already been added to cart or not. So if product has not been added to cart here, I'm saying here exclamation. Exclamation means not. So if that product ID is not among the products array IDs, is not among these IDs, then we need to add that product to cart. So here add product to cart. So here we need to add the product to cart. To add the product to cart, we need to get its ID first. So I'm going to say product underscore ID is going to be equal to product is going to be equal to post product ID, product underscore ID. So this is going to get us the product ID, and then we need to add this to the session. But before that, we need to get everything from that product, the information of that product, such as the product name, the product price, the product image. So I'm gonna here say product array. I'm gonna say product array is gonna be equal to an array, and this array will have the following key value pairs. First, it's going to have the product ID, and we already got the product ID. The product ID is the product ID, and then we need the product name, product name. Make sure that the spelling is correct. The product name, I'm gonna get it again from the post request product name. We also need the product price, product price. We also need the product image, We also need the product special offer, product special offer, and then we need the product quantity. So the product quantity is always going to be 1 whenever a user adds a product to cart. We need to add only one item of that product. Product quantity is going to always be 1, and then the user can update this, increase this or decrease this, or remove the product from the cart. So we can say here product quantity, or we can simply say 0. Initially it can be 0. So it's up to you to do this or this. Let's get it from the post, and then we can initialize this from the post. We can initialize this in the post request 0. We can say 0. So I'm going to say product quantity, and that's it. Now the last step is that we need to add this product array, this product, which is a single array, into the big array, which is the session. To do this, we need to say session cart, and then we need to use the product ID, because we want to store it in a unique ID, which is the product ID. So we need here to say product ID, because we want to store each product we need to kind of pair or connect each product with, or associate each product with a unique ID, which is the product ID. So here I'm going to say is equal to product array. So let me explain this one more time. Here, if the product has not been added to the cart, then we get that product from the post request, and then we add it to the session. And the session will have this structure. The session is an array, and inside it we will have key value pairs, where each key represents the product ID. For example, 3 or 4. Let's say 4. And the value is the product itself, which is the product information. And it's also an array, so it's going to be an array like this. And then whenever we add a new product, we associate it with its ID. So for example, we say 55, the second product, and then we associate that ID with the product itself. And then we have the session, which represents the big array. So this is the session. Pretty simple. And then we say else. We need to say else here, in case the product has already been added to cart, we just need to say echo, and then we need to say here we need to echo script, JavaScript. We need to say script, and then script, and we just need to say here alert, and then product was already added to cart. Here product, let's use here double quotes, and here double quotes, and here I'm going to say product has already been added to cart. Pretty simple. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to continue working on the cart. So here, if the cart is not, if the cart is already set, it means that if there is something in the cart. However, suppose that this is the first time that the user is adding something to the cart. So here we need to say else. Else here, if this is the first product, if user is adding first product to cart, then all we need to do now, in case the user is adding the first product, all we need to do is that we need to get that product. The code is going to be the same. The same as this. We just need to get that product and add it to cart without checking the session, because at this point the session has not been initialized, which means that the product surely is not in the cart, has not been added to cart. So all we need to do at this point is that we need to copy this part, and then paste it here in this else. So at this point, if the user is adding the first product to cart, we just need to get the product ID, and then we get the product info, and then we add all of them to the session. We add that product to the session. So this is pretty simple and pretty straightforward. And lastly, a very important thing that we need to do is that we need to add a post request, because whenever a user comes to this page, first we need to use the the post request at the top, we can say if, and then is set, and then post, and then add underscore to cart, and then all we need to do now is to copy all of this code that we created, all of it. Let me copy all of it, all of this PHP code. Let me copy it, and then I'm gonna remove it, and then I'm gonna paste it inside this if statement, inside this add to cart. So this, let me paste it here now. This now is going to check first if user, let me push this first. This is going to be inside. So this is going to be inside the post request, because we need to make sure that the user has clicked on this button to add a product to cart using the post request. Pretty simple. So now you need to click on save all, and we are done with this part. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to display the products that we added to the session here. We need to loop over the products and display them. So what I'm going to do is that here above this above this tr, we need to use the session. So here I'm going to say PHP, and then I'm going to say here PHP, and then I'm going to first check if the session is set or not. So I'm going to say if session, if is set first, if is set session cart, and then curly bracket, and then in another line we need to create another PHP. We need to say PHP, and then if, and then for each we need to loop over the products. We need to say for each, and then session cart as key value, as key value, where the key is the product ID, and the value is the product information. And here curly bracket, and then we need to close this PHP, and then below this tr we need to, below this tr, let me show you where it is. This tr, only this tr, we need to close two curly brackets, because we have if statement and we have for each. So we need to say here PHP, and then curly bracket, and then another PHP, and then curly bracket, and that's it. Now between we need to display the product info. So the first thing is the image. For the image we need to remove this static image, and then we need to say PHP, and then echo, and what we want to echo is that we want to echo first the assets / images / dot, and then we use the value, and then product image here, by the way, value and then product image. And then for the price we need to say here PHP, and then echo product, and then value product price, value, and then product price. And then after that we have also the product price, and then we have the quantity. So the quantity is going to be displayed inside the input here. I'm going to say PHP, and then here echo value product quantity, here product product quantity, product quantity. And then we have also the product price one more time, so we also need to display the product quantity one more time, the product price one more time. So here I'm going to say PHP, and then echo, and then value product price. We here also for this total, we need to say if it's empty, we don't need to display this number. So we after this total, we need to say if, we need to say PHP, and then if is set, only if is set session. If the session is set, session cart PHP, then we need to display this number, and I'm going to calculate the number later, but only if the session is set. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to test the cart page, and to test the cart, before we test, we need to give this input a name. So I'm going to give this input name. I'm going to say name, and the name is going to be add underscore to underscore cart. Make sure that you add this. Name is add to cart to this submit button. Let's save and let me test now. So I'm gonna go back to the products page. I'm gonna say here products.php, and then I'm gonna try to add a product to the cart. I'm gonna click on order, and as you can see, this is gonna add the product to the cart. But we have a problem with the image. So let me check the image. In the cart here, in the cart, we need to make sure here the image, we need to say assets and then / images, not img, images. Let me now refresh, and as you can see, we have the image here being displayed, which is amazing. For this remove, we need to remove the background. So let me remove the background. Here we have the remove button, this remove in the cart. We have this remove. Let me show you where it is. This is the remove button. We need to say here style, and then background none. And also the color, I'm going to say background none, and then the color is going to be white. Let me save and let me test. I'm going to refresh, and this is how it's going to look like. So now it looks amazing. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to work on the remove button, so that once the user clicks on it, it removes the product from the cart. So let me head on over to the project to work on it. In the cart.php, we need to add, remember we have here if statement that's going to check whether the user added a product to cart or not. And here what we need to do is that we need to say else if, and then we need to check if the remove button has been clicked or not. So here I'm going to say else if, and then here in this else if, we can start working on removing a product. So we need to learn we need to know where is the remove button. So here is the remove button, this remove button. So this remove button, we need to give it action and method. So the action is going to be the same page. I'm going to say cart.php, and then we need a method. So the method is post request. We need to say post, and then what we want to do is that we want to give this input a name. I'm going to say name remove underscore btn. Now we can check whether this button clicked or not using if statement here. So here I'm going to say else if is set, and then post, if is set post remove remove underscore btn, then we need to remove that product from the cart. However, we need to know which product. Therefore, here in this form, we need to pass the product ID, because only using the product ID we can remove a product. Therefore, here I'm going to say input, and then I'm going to say hidden, and then I'm going to store the product ID here in this hidden field. I'm going to say value, so the value is going to be PHP, and then I'm going to say echo, and then what I'm going to echo is that I'm going to echo the value, which is the product, and then we need the product ID. So we need to say product. Here we need to access the product ID. So the product ID will be stored in this field. And we need to give this field a name as well. We need to say here name is equal to product underscore ID. Now here in the if statement, we can access that product ID and we can remove it from the session. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to first access the product ID. I'm going to say product ID is equal to post and then product ID. And then what we need to do is that we need to use this ID to remove the product from the cart. And to remove a product from the cart, we need to use the unset method. Unset, and then we pass the session, and then in that session we want to access the cart, and then we want to access that specific product. So we need to access the product ID. So this line of code would remove that product from the cart. Pretty simple. And that's it. We just return to the same page. So we just here display the same content. Nothing else we need to do. And else, we need to say here else and keep it empty for now. Pretty simple. Let's now test. Let me here click on File and then Save All. And so let me now test. In order to test, first we need to refresh the page in order for the changes to take effect. I'm gonna refresh, and then I'm gonna click on Remove. Let me click on Remove, and boom, the product has been removed from the cart. So it worked successfully. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to work on the quantity. For example, if the user wants to buy 2 or 3 or more pizzas, then they must change this number. But of course, after they change this number, we need to activate or multiply this by 1 pizza so that we get the total amount. So here the user will be able to set the number of meals number of pizzas they want to buy, and then after they click on edit, then the amount will be calculated. The subtotal will be calculated, and the total will be calculated. So let's head on over to the project to work on it. To work on this, we need to add another else if. So we need here to say, else if, and then here we need to say is set, and then post, and then edit button, or edit, let's say edit quantity button, and we need to work on that button. Remember here, for that edit button, we have here we have this edit button. So for this edit button, first we need to give it a name. We need to say name, and the name is going to be edit underscore quantity underscore btn. And the form, this form, we need to give it two things. We need to give it method and action. The method is post. The action is the same page, which is cart.php. However, we need to pass with us again we need to pass with us the product ID. So I'm going to here say input hidden, and then name is product ID, name product underscore ID, and value. The value is the product ID, which is PHP echo, and then we echo the value product ID, product ID. And we need also to pass with us the quantity. To do this, we need here for this number, we need to give it also a name. We need to say here name, and the name is going to be equal to product underscore quantity, and the value is the value we need to work on the logic. So here, remember, we have this else if. In this else if, the first thing that we need to do is that we need to access the product ID. So I'm going to say here product ID is equal to post product ID, product ID, and then what we want to do is that we want to get also the product quantity. So I'm going to say product quantity, which is obviously going to be equal to post product quantity, and then we just need to we just want to access the product from the session. So we need to say here session, we need to get the product from the session, and to get the product from the session we need to say session cart, and then we need to get that specific product. So I'm going to say here product, I'm going to say session cart, and then I'm going to access that product using its ID, which is the product ID, and then I'm going to store it in a variable called product. So this is the product that we want to update. Product is equal to cart product ID. This is going to return the product from the cart. Now what we want to do is that we want to access the quantity field. Remember, this product is an array with key value pairs, where each key represents something. Each key could represents product name. We have the product name, for example. We have the product name, and then here the name, for example, table. We have also the product quantity, which is a number, for example 6. So we need to access this product quantity. We need to access the product quantity of that array. So to do this, we need to say here product, and then product quantity, and then we need to update that product quantity. So to update that product quantity, we store the new quantity, which is the product quantity that we got from the user. So I'm going to say here product quantity. So again, let me explain this. We get the product ID, we get the product quantity, we access the product that has been stored in the session, and then we access the quantity, the old quantity, and then we store the new quantity into the old one. So the old one will be removed, and the new one will be stored in place of the old one. And finally, we put the product back into the session. So we say session cart product ID product. That's it. We are now good. So let me now test. In order to test, we need to set a number, for example this number, and then I'm going to click on edit. So if I click on edit, as you can see, the total now is 151, because 4 pizzas would cost $151. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to calculate the total. So if we have more than one item here, what we want to do is that we want to add the subtotals up. If you add the subtotal of the first product, and if you have another product, you add the subtotal to it, you will get the total. So we need to calculate this total. Let me head on over to the project to work on it. Here, multiply here, we can do the multiplication here. So remember here in the for each loop, we have here this. So we have this product price. We can here multiply the product price, multiply by value, and then product quantity. Need to create a function that would do all of this. So what I'm gonna do is that here whenever we add something to the cart, whether it's the first product or or whether it's a new product, then after that, we always need to update or increase or calculate, I should say, calculate total cart. We always need to do this whenever we add something to the cart. So whenever we add something to the cart, we need to do this. So here we need to call this function, and also here whenever we remove something from the cart, after we remove, we need to calculate total cart. And here also whenever we update the cart, we need here to calculate total cart. So we need now to create a function that would do this. Let me here create a new function. I'm going to say function, and then I'm going to say calculate total cart. Calculate total cart. So to calculate the total cart, we need to access all of the products and get all of the prices and all of the quantities and add them up. So we need to add them up, and to do this, we need to access the session first. I'm going to access the session. I'm going to first say here, before this, we actually need to say total price. Total price is equal to 0, and also the total quantity. Total quantity is equal to 0. And then we need to loop over all of the products. And to do this, we need to say the for each loop. For each, and then we access the session cart, and then we get each single product. So I'm going to say session cart as key value, where the key is the product ID and the value is the product itself. So we access the key value. If you don't want to say key value, you can say ID product, because the key is the ID and the value is the product. And now we need to access each single product. So I'm going to say product, and each single product is going to be equal to session cart ID. This is the product. Once we get the product, we need to get its price. So we need to get the price. The price is going to be equal to the product price. And we also need to access the quantity. So the quantity is going to be equal to product quantity. And then we now multiply the price by the quantity and then add everything up. So we need to say total now. The total price is going to be equal to the old total price, which is initially going to be 0, plus the price multiplied by the quantity. So this is the total price. The total quantity is the total quantity is going to be equal to the old total quantity plus the quantity plus the new quantity. So after we do all of this, we store this in the session. So we can here say after the for each, we can create a new key in the session. We can say session, and then the key is going to be total, and the total is going to be equal to total price. And we create another key for the quantity if you want to use it. I'm going to say quantity. The quantity is going to be equal to the total quantity. And to do this, we need to call this function every time we update the session. So every time we add something to the session, for example here, we need to call the calculate total cart, and also here, whenever we remove something from the cart, we need to calculate the total. and also here whenever we edit the quantity of a specific product, we need to calculate the total cart. Finally, we need here to display at the bottom. Remember, we have here this code. This code is first gonna check whether the cart is empty or not. If the cart is not empty, which means that if there is something in the cart, then we need to display here, we need to say PHP, and then echo, and then we echo the $sign first, and then dot, and then we echo the session total. Session total, which is the total price. So let me now test. In order to test, we need to add different products. I'm gonna add here, I'm gonna go to the products page, and then I'm gonna order another meal. For example, this meal. So now we have 2 meals, and the total is 51.98. Let's check this. So the first product costs 37.99. The second product costs 13.99, and if you add these up, you will get 51.98. So now the total is correct. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to work on the checkout button. So once the user clicks on checkout, it takes the user to the checkout page where the user will be able to fill out the form and start the process of checking out. Let me head on over to the project to work on it. Now in the project, the first step is that we need to change this checkout.html from HTML to PHP. So I'm gonna rename this file. I'm gonna rename this from checkout.html to checkout.php. And then I'm gonna hit enter. And then the next step is that we need to activate the form that would take the user to the checkout.php, and that is in the cart.php. So in the cart.php at the bottom you should find here this form. We have this form. So we need to activate this form. To activate this form, we need to give it a method and action. So I'm going to say method. The method is going to be get, and the action. The action is obviously the checkout.php. So I'm going to say checkout.php. And here the button should have here input, type submit, class button. Everything is fine here. Name, let's say checkout underscore btn, and that's it. Now we are done with this part. The second thing that we need to do is that we need to open the checkout. So in the checkout at the very top, before we echo any code or anything, we need to add here a code that would protect the page from users who would try to come to this page without adding something to cart. So the user should only be allowed to come to this page only if they have something in the cart. And to do this, we need to add here PHP code. I'm going to say PHP, and then I'm going to say session start. We need to start the session first. Session start, and then we need to say here if, and then if is set, and then session cart. If not, I'm gonna say here not if the session is not set, or if the session is empty. If empty, session cart, then at this point what we need to do is that we need to say header, and then location, and then index.php. So let me explain this code. This code is simply going to check whether the cart has been initiated. If there's something in the cart, then this code will not be executed and the user will be able to see this page. But if the cart is not set, or if the cart is set but it's empty, if user added something there to cart but removed it later, then we shouldn't allow them to see this page. Pretty simple. So this is what this code is going to do. It's going to protect this page. So let me save now everything. Let me save all. Let me test. So let's now test. In order to test, we need to add something to cart. So I have added this to cart, and let me click on checkout. So if I click on the checkout button, as you can see, it's going to take me to the checkout form. So this is the form that will allow the customer to check out. And the good news about this form is that it's not going to be displayed unless there's something in the cart. So if you go back and remove everything from the cart, for example, if you remove this from the cart, the user will not be able to go to the checkout page. As you can see, it's not gonna work. The checkout, you will find that we have here a form. In the checkout, you will find that we have a form here. We have this form. As you can see, we have this form, and this form has here name, email, phone, city, address, and we need to activate this form and make a new script that would allow the user to insert the data and make a new order. We need to open up the checkout.php and then we need to activate this form. Remember, we have this form. Let's here give this form action and the method. So I'm going to say action. The action is going to be a file called place_order.php, and the method is going to be post request. And then we need to give these inputs names and make sure that everything is perfect. So here for the first input we need to make sure that it has a name. The second one is email, the third one is phone, the fourth one is city, and the last one is address, and the button also check out btn. So let's now create a new file called place order. So I'm going to create a file called place_order.php. And in this place_order.php, what we want to do is that we want first to include the connection. We need to say connection. We need to say include connection, include, and then connection.php. And we also need the session. We need to say session start. And then what we want to do is that we need to say if the is set post checkout button check out btn, then we want to get the data from the form and place the order. So what we want to get is that we want to get the name, the email, the phone, the city, and the address. So we want here to say, first we need the name. I'm going to say name. Name is equal to post name. And then we want the email. I'm going to say name, and then email is equal to post email, and then we want the phone. We want phone post phone, and then we want the city for post city, and then we want the address, and then after we get all of these, we want to place the order in the database. So we need to insert all of these in the database. Let me head on over to the PHP MyAdmin and open up the orders. As you can see, this is the orders table. So the orders table will have the order ID, the cost, the status, the name, the phone, the city, and the address, and the order date. So we need to insert these, and to insert these, we need to use MySQL here. I'm going to say con, and then prepare And then what we want to insert is that we need to say insert into, and then the name of the table is orders, and then what we want to insert is that we want to insert the cost. Of course, the ID will be created by the database. You shouldn't be creating an ID. The ID is automatically created by the database. So we need to start by inserting the cost. So I'm going to say order cost, and then order status, and then username, phone, city. So we need to say user underscore name, and then user underscore email, and then user underscore phone, and then user underscore city, and then user underscore address, and then date, order date, and then order underscore date. So make sure that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have a problem here. We have username, email, phone, city, and address. So here phone, name, phone, city, address. We just need to insert the email. So I'm going to here say, I'm going to click here on one column, and then I'm going to say after the name, and then I'm going to click on go, and then I'm going to create a new field for the email. I'm going to say user email, and then I'm going to say text, and then I'm going to click on save. So we will have a new field for the email. So we need to get the order cost. The order cost is the total amount, and that can be fetched from the session. So we need to say order cost. Order cost is going to be equal. Order cost is going to be equal to the session total. So the total stores the total amount of money that the user is going to pay for all products. The total cart. And then the order status. The order status will always be order status. The order status will always be not paid, because at this point the user would just place an order but would pay later. So the user would first place an order and then pay. So the order status will be initially not paid, and then after the user pays, we can change this to paid. So initially it's going to be not paid, and then we have everything. We have the order status and everything. The last thing is the order date. We need to say here order date. The order date is going to be equal to date, and then we can use this date, and then we can use any format you want. You can use the year. You can use for example, if you want to use the year, you can here say year, and then month, and then day. And this is going to insert the year, month, day. If you want the month and day, only the month and day, you can say MD, month and day. So I'm going to say year, month, day. And that's it. Let me now, after this, we need to continue. So after this, we need to store this in a variable called statement. And then we need to append all of these. So we need to append all of these by using here, by saying values. Here we need to say values, and then question marks. So how many question marks we want? We want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we need here to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we need to append these values. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say statement. Here I'm going to say statement, and then and then bind param, and then what we want to bind is that we want to bind the order cost, which is let's say the order cost is going to be the order cost, let's say I for order cost, and then after the cost we want the order status. The order status is S. I stands for integer, S stands for string. So here I and then S, and then the user name is S, and then the user email S, the user phone is I, the user city is S, the address is S, and the date is S. And then after that we want to insert these values. So I'm gonna start with the order cost, and then order status, order status, and then username, which is name, just name, and then email, and then phone, and then name, email, phone, and then city, and then address, and then date. And finally we need to execute this. So we need to execute this. We need to say statement, and then execute. So now we are done with the first part, which is inserting the order into the database. So we just need to save, and we will continue with the second part. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to get the products that the user bought and insert them into the order items table. So we need here to say if the statement execute, if the execution was successful here, if we inserted this order into the database, then we need to continue. Else, if we say here not, if the execution failed, then we need to say, we need to take the user to the home page. We need to say header, and then location index.php, and we need to exit here, exit. So if the execution, if there is something wrong, we need to exit this page, and we need to take the user to the home page, to the index page, which is the home page. Then after this, we need to get the order ID, because after this if this has been inserted successfully, the database here would issue an ID for that order. So we need to get that order ID. So we need here to say order ID, and that order ID is going to be equal to statement, and then insert ID. This is going to return the ID of that order. So now we have the order ID. Now we can use this order ID to insert the data into the other table, which is the order items, which is this order items. So now we want to get the products, and to get the products we need to use the session. Remember, we have the session, and we need to loop over the session and get each single product. So I'm going to say for each session cart as ID product as key value pair, and then we get each single product from the session, and then we insert it into the database. So we need to get first the product ID, the product name, the product quantity, all of these. So I'm going to say product is equal to session cart, and then we access that product using its ID. So after we get that product, we need to access the product ID. We need to say product ID is equal to product ID, ID, and then we repeat the same thing to access every single thing that this product and each product has. So each product has a product name and product image, all of these things. I'm going to say here product name, and then product image, product image, and then product price, product price, and then quantity, product quantity, and then product quantity, and make sure that the spelling is correct. After this, we need to insert each single product that has been stored in the session into the order items. So the order items would contain all items that the user added to the cart. So here I'm going to say statement 1 is equal to con, and then prepare, and then insert into what? We need to insert into order items, and then let me show you what we want to insert. I'm going to click on structure. So what we want to insert is that we want to insert the product, the order ID, the product ID, name, image, price, all of these things. So we need to insert these things. We need to insert these things. Let's start now. Here we need to say order items, and then we need to insert. First, I'm going to start with the order ID. We need to say order underscore ID, and then the product ID, and then the after the product ID, we need to insert the I think, let me check the database, the product name. We need to insert the product name. So I'm going to insert next the product name, and then after the product name, we need to insert the image, price, quantity, product image, and then product price, product quantity, and then product quantity, and then username and order date. User name, and then order date. And then values, we need to say here values, and then question marks. So how many question marks? We need first here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We need to insert 8 question mark. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we need to execute this. So I'm going to say here statement 1, and then bind, and then what we want to bind is that we want to bind I for the order ID, and then the product ID also I, and then the product name is S string, the image S, the price I, the quantity I, the name S and the date S. So we need here to insert first the order date, order ID first, and then product ID, and then product name, and then product image, product name, product image, product name, image, price, product price, product quantity, and then order date. And make sure that they are 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So something is missing, which is the user name. So here user underscore name, actually just name, because we don't have a variable called username, it's name. Also here it's name, not username, name, and here name. So we are good to go here. The last thing that we need to do with this query is that we need to execute this query. We need to say statement 1 and then execute. We need to execute this query, statement, and then execute. And now we are done with the second part, which is this part. Let me here type. I comment. I'm going to say get all products from cart and insert them into database. That's it. Now click on File and then Save All. So now what we need to do is that here, after we place the order and everything here, what we need to do is that we need to take the user to the payment page. So after we do this step, we need to store order ID in session, and then we need to take the user to the payment page. So here I'm going to say session, and then I'm going to store the order ID in a session key called order underscore ID. So order ID is going to be equal to order ID, because by using the order ID we will be able to know whether the user has successfully placed the order or not. And here we just take user to payment page. So we need to say here header, and then location, and then payment.php. That's it. Now let me save, and above the checkout button, here this checkout button, we need to display the correct number. So here we need to say PHP, and then echo, and then what we want to echo is that we want to echo the session, and then total, and that's it, just total. And before that we need to display the $sign. I'm gonna say here echo $sign dot, and then session total, and at the top we have the session. So we just need to save now and test. Welcome back. Now in the place order.php we need to fix something very, very important. The order here, the order cost, we said that the order cost is I, and actually if you say I, it will ignore the number after the point. For example, if the order cost was 199.99, it will only insert 199 and it will ignore the number after the point. Therefore, we need to change this. We need to change the order ID from I to S. We need to remove this S, and then we need to remove this I, and then we need to say S. So make sure that here it says S, and then here the first parameter is the order cost. So that way, if we say S, we will insert the complete number into the database. It will take the complete number, and it will take the number after the point into account, and it will insert the complete number into the database. Similarly, in the here, if you scroll, you'll find that we have also here the product price. Here, the product price, we said I. We said that it's I. If we say I, it will ignore the number after the point. For example, if the product price was $39.99, it will only insert 39 and it will ignore the 99, the point 99. Therefore, we need to say, instead of I, we need to say S. We need to remove this I and then we need to say S. So here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth should be S. Here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the fifth here in this query, the fifth must be S so that we insert a complete number into the database rather than inserting only the number and ignoring the number after the point. So make sure that here the product price is S, and also at the top here make sure that the order cost is S. That way we will be able to insert the complete number into the database. Welcome back. Now it's time to test adding something to cart and checking out. Let me check out. I already added this meal to the cart. I added the pizza with sausage, and I'm gonna buy only one. So here one. Let me click on checkout. And now let me fill out this form. So I'm going to fill out this form and test. So you need to fill out the complete form, because if you click on checkout without filling the form, it's not going to work, which is amazing. Because you cannot sell something to your customers without knowing where they are, because you need to deliver the food to your customers. So you need this information. Let me click on checkout. And as you can see, if you click on checkout, you will be taken to here. It's going to say payment, because we said that whenever the user clicks on checkout, it takes them to the payment page, but we did not work on the payment page yet. So don't worry about this. This is not a problem. We are going to continue working on this. But what's important now is to check whether data has been inserted in the database or not. Let me go to the database and refresh the orders table. So let me display everything. I have so many orders. Don't worry about this, because I have been testing. But for you, you might not have any. Any orders, and this is the first order that is inserted. Let me check the last one. So the last one, the cost is $13.99. That's correct. And the status is not paid. That's obviously correct. And my name, email, and phone number, and city, and address. Let's check the order items. I'm going to open the order items. Again, the order items will, for you, might be empty, but for me, because I have been testing, I have so many items. Let me scroll to the end. So the last, as you can see, the last order, the last item was pizza with sausage. That's correct, because I bought the pizza with sausage, and the cost is $13.99, and I bought only one. The quantity is one, so it's also correct. And also I have the date, the name, everything has been inserted in the database. So now we know how to make an order and insert data into the database. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to do what's called refactoring. Refactoring is important because as your project gets bigger and bigger, it's gonna be very difficult for you to edit a few things. If you want to edit only one thing, it's going to be difficult because you will have to edit it in many files when your project is super large. But if you do refactoring, you can edit your files easily and quickly. So let's do refactoring. So in order to do refactoring, we need to create two files. One is called header and one is called footer. So I'm going to create a new file here called header.php, and I'm going to create another file called footer.php, and then I'm going to open the index, and in the index I'm going to copy the header, only the header, which is from the beginning all the way to the end of the navigation bar, this end of navigation bar. I'm going to copy it, copy, and then I'm going to remove it. And then I'm going to paste it in the header. I'm going to paste that code in the header. And then in the index, we need to import the header. So I'm going to say here PHP and then include, and what I'm going to include is that I'm going to include the header.php and then semicolon, and we are done with the header. With the footer, we need to do the same thing. I'm going to scroll in the index, and then I'm going to copy only this part, only from the loader from this all the way to the end of the file. I'm going to copy this code, and then I'm going to remove it, and then I'm going to paste it in the footer. And then in the index, I'm going to say here PHP at the end, PHP, and then include. And then what I'm going to include is that I'm going to include the footer. I'm going to say footer.php. And then we are done. Now we need to save everything first, and then we need to repeat the same thing with all of these files. For example, if you open the cart, you'll find that we have the header and the footer. So we need to remove the header, which is this part, We need to remove it, and instead we need to say here PHP and then include, and then what we want to include is that we want to include the header.php. Similarly with the footer, we need to scroll to the end, and then we need to remove from here all the way to the end, and then we need to say PHP include, and then footer.php. Similarly with other pages such as the checkout, we need to do the same thing. So I'm gonna remove the footer, which is this part, and then I'm gonna say PHP and then include, and then I'm gonna say footer.php. And for the header, we need to do the same thing in the checkout. We need to remove this part, and then we need to say PHP and then include, and what we want to include is that we want to include the header.php. Similarly with other pages, we have other pages. If you have other pages, you need to do the same thing. For example, the products, we need to do the same thing. We need to remove the footer, which is this part, and then we need to say include footer.php. For the header, we need to do the same thing. We need to remove this part, and then we need to say PHP and then include, and then header.php, and we are done. Now we are done with this. Make sure that you save and you are done. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to create a new page called payment.php so that we can take the user to that page. So I'm going to create a new page here called payment.php. And then in this page, in the payment.php, first we need to get the code from the, let's say from the checkout. So from the checkout, I'm going to copy the complete code, and then I'm going to paste it in the payment. And then now in the payment, we need to do the following. First, we need to remove this part at the top. We don't need this. We don't need this code. So I'm going to remove this code. We don't need this code. We need the header, and then we need this part. And then here I'm going to say payment, and instead of checkout, I'm going to say payment. And then we don't need here, we need to say, let's say payment. And then we need to remove this part. With this form, I'm going to remove this form. This form, I'm going to remove this form. So I'm going to remove this and this. So we should have only this code. And here we should display the amount as well as the payment button. So here, just for now, I'm going to display a hard-coded amount. I'm going to say here total, and then like this, and then let's say button. Just for now, I'm going to say button, pay now, and then I'm going to change this shortly. Enter this code. We need to say here dev. We need to say dev, and then inside that dev, first we need to give this dev a class, and that class is going to be mxauto, and also container, and also text center. These three are bootstrap classes, and then I'm going to copy this code, and then I'm going to paste it inside. Work on this later. We need to work on this later, so I'm going to remove this from now. For now, I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to push this inside, and that's it. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that in the payment button, in the payment page, before we display the payment button, we need to check whether the user has an order or not. Because if user doesn't have an order, we should display you don't have an order so that the user knows that they don't have an order. So to do this, we can remember if you go back to the place order, you will find that in the place order, you'll find that we have in the session the order ID, and we can use this to check whether the user has placed an order or not. So here I'm going to say PHP, and then I'm going to say if session if is set session order ID and session order ID is not equal to nothing or is not equal to 0, you can say nothing or 0, then we need to display the button. Here we need to display the button. Here we need to display the button. Else we need to say again PHP. Here, by the way, we need to say curly bracket, only one single curly bracket, and then here we need to say curly bracket and then else, and then curly bracket, and then here we need to close the curly bracket, and we need to say else you don't have an order. So here you can say you don't have an order. So let me explain this. If the order ID is in the session, is set in the session, and it's not empty, it means that there is an order. Then the user here, we need to display the button here. Else we need to display this, but of course we need to use a paragraph instead of saying this. We need to say P paragraph, and then inside that paragraph we need to say you don't have an order. However, this is not enough, because if the user placed an order and removed everything from the cart, this will also be displayed, and we don't need this. Instead, we need also to check the total. So we need to say and is set session total if there is items, or if there are so many items, or even if there is only one single item in the cart and it has a number that is greater than 0. So we need to say and session total is not equal to 0 if there is if these items that are in the cart cost more than 0. Of course they will. If there is something in the cart, then we need to display the button. So here, let me add this in a new line. So we need to check whether the order ID has been inserted in the session, which means that the user has placed an order. And here we should also say session order ID is not equal to nothing or 0. Is not equal to nothing or 0. You can say 0 here, because the order ID is going to be a number anyways, and obviously it's not going to be 0. It must be a number, and the database is going to issue that number, and that number can be and is going to be a number other than 0. And if the session total is not if the session total is set and it's not equal to 0, then here we need to display the button, and we need also to display the total. So here I'm going to say P, and then I'm going to say total, and then PHP, and then I'm going to say echo, and then I'm going to echo the $sign, and then I'm going to append to it the total. I'm going to say session total. Let me now save, and let's head on over to the browser to test. Welcome back. Now it's time to test the payment page. So I have added this to cart, this pizza with sausage, and then I'm going to click on checkout, and then I'm going to fill out the form here. Let me fill out this form. So let me fill out this form with information, the city, and also the address, which is mandatory, New York. Then I'm going to click on checkout. So once I click on checkout, as you can see, I will be taken to the payment page. Of course, the payment page now doesn't have much information. It just has here, it has this total. So the total is 13.99, which is the correct amount. So now we have this payment page and we can continue working on it. Let's now integrate a payment system into our project. And to do this, we need to select a payment system, and I'm going to be using PayPal because PayPal is one of the best payment options out there, and I think it's going to be just amazing and it's going to help us a lot, and I think it's just one of the best options, and I'm going to be selecting PayPal. So in order to start integrating PayPal, the process, first of all, you need to know that the process is pretty long. And I'm going to be dividing the process into a small and few steps, short steps, so that you understand. So the first step is that you need to create a PayPal account. You need to head on over to paypal.com and then create an account. However, you need to create a business account, not a personal account. So just head on over to paypal.com and then click on sign up. And then after you click on sign up, you need to select business account, not personal account. You need to select business account and then click on next. And if you don't find this option, by the way, you need to convert your account after you create a personal account. You need to convert the account to a business account from your account after registration if you don't find this option, but you will find this option for many countries. So here what you need to do is that you need to type your email, and that's it. Pretty simple. Just type your email, and then of course you need to verify your email, and that's it. So the process is very simple and straightforward. I'm not gonna continue because I already have a PayPal account. So here all you need to do is that you need to type your email and then click on continue and just fill out the next form that you are gonna get, because the form will need to be filled, and then just confirm your email. So that's it, and of course you need to verify your email. So after you have done all of this and after you have finished registering, you need to head on over to developer.paypal.com. Again, that's developer.paypal.com. This is the URL that we need to use in order to be able to integrate PayPal into our project. So you need again to head on over to developer.paypal.com and then click on log in to dashboard. And then you need to type the email and the password that you have just created with PayPal, the business account here. So let me type my business account here. So after you type your email, you just need to click on next. And then you need to type your password here. And then you need to click on login. So after you log in, you will find in your dashboard you will find apps. And what an app is, an app is just a project. So for every project that you want to integrate PayPal into, you need to create a separate app for it. And I'm going to be showing you how to use apps. And what's important here is that we have two tabs here, one for sandbox and the other for live. The sandbox is used for testing. The live, of course, is used whenever you are ready and you want to publish your application where real people will pay real money and will use your projects or web applications, websites, whatever. So here on the left side we have your account, we have the sandbox. So what's important here is the sandbox. Here you need to click on accounts and you need to create two accounts. One account will represent the buyer and the other one will represent the owner, because the buyer is going to pay to the owner. So you need to create two accounts. Let me show you how you can do that. First, you need to click here on create account. And now I'm going to create an account which is going to be a personal buyer account. So the buyer again will pay to the business account. So I'm going to here select the country. You need to select your country and then click on create. And then here it's going to say the sandbox account was created successfully. So this is a sandbox account, this is a testing account. So we need to create another account that will represent the owner, the business. So you need to click here again on create account, and then you need to create a new account which is going to be this time a business account. Click on business, and then you need to select your country. I'm going to be selecting here the United States, and then click on create. And then here it's going to say again the sandbox account was created successfully. And if you scroll you will find all of the accounts that you have. So here I have these accounts that I just created. One is a business account which is going to represent the owner, and the other one is the buyer which represents the customer or the buyer or the user. So the personal account will pay to the business, and you need to remember these emails. So I'm gonna be using, of course, in order to pay and in order to test, we need to use I need to log into the system using this personal account. I'm gonna be showing you that, because the personal, again, this account will pay to the business account. So you should by now have these two accounts on these three dots, and then click on edit account, edit view edit account. You will find that this account has been initialized with a money with around 5,000, I think. If you click on funding, you will find that it has $5,000. So this account has $5,000, and for the business account, it will. If you click on funding, here, funding, you will find that it has also $5,000. So the reason why this is important is because after testing, the amount of money will increase for the business and will decrease for the owner, for the personal account. So this is the second step. The third step is to create an app. So you need to click on My Apps and Credentials and create a new app. So here what you need to do is that you need to click on Create App. Here, click on Create App, and you will be able to create an app. So this is very, very important. You need to create an app, and you need to give it a name. I'm going to say here, my project, just my project. And then I'm going to click on, here you need to select your merchant or platform, and here I'm going to select this option. And then this is very important, you need to select the business account. So the business account that I have just created is this one, is this email. And then just click on Create App. That's it. Pretty simple. Now after you create an app, you will find that this app has a client ID and a secret. These two are important because these two I'm going to be using to add them into our project, and by using these we will be able to connect to PayPal. Otherwise we will not be able to connect to PayPal. So these client ID and secret are the sandbox API credentials. And whenever we go live, we will be requesting another API, another client ID and secret, and change. We also need to change the project here from sandbox to a live. That's it, and you will be able to use this for real money so that people will pay you. So here, as you can see here, it says sandbox API credentials. So this is the sandbox. This is for testing. This is just for testing. And if you scroll, you'll find many options, and by default you will have these options: accept payments, invoicing. Just keep these as they are, because these are important. You need to. Welcome back. So now if you click on my apps and credentials, you will find all of your apps, and here if you click on live, you will find your project here. If you click on it, you will find the live credentials. So what is the difference between sandbox and live? Live credentials will allow you to receive real money from users. So if I click on my project here, you will find here it says my project, and you will find PayPal account and client ID and secret. So these three are very important because these three will represent the live credentials. So the PayPal account is your real PayPal account. The client ID you will use in order to connect to PayPal and get real money, and of course the secret. If you click on this it's going to show you the secret key, and this is for the live. If you go back and click on my apps, and if you click on sandbox, you will find here your project. If you click on it, you will find your credentials, the sandbox account, the client ID, and the secret. But this is for testing. So again, you have two options. You have the sandbox and the live. The sandbox is used for testing, which I'm going to be using. And then whenever we go live, we just need to use the live credentials. That's it. Pretty simple. Welcome back. So now it's time to start integrating PayPal into our project. And the first step is that you need to log into your developer.paypal.com. And then we need to select one of the options. So first of all, you need to know that in order to integrate PayPal into your project, there are so many options. And I'm going to be using an option called checkout. So you need here, after you log in, you need to click on Docs, just hover over it, and then here click on Get Started. Here, click on Get Started, and after you click on Get Started, just click on Accept Payments. Accept Payments, and then click on Checkout. So this is the method that I'm going to be using. It's called Checkout, and this method is going to allow us to receive payments from customers. So after you click on Checkout, just click on Set Up Standard Payments. Click on it, and as you can see, this method is going to allow us to add a button that we can customize and add the amount of money that we want to receive from customers. And all you need to do now is that you need to click on Integrate PayPal Checkout for Online Payments. Click on it. And here it's going to give you a very long steps here, a very long guide. But the problem with PayPal is that it's very complicated. Therefore, I'm going to make the process very easy for you by just dividing the steps into short and easy steps. So the first step is that here in this page, all you need to do is that we need to get a piece of code that's going to generate the button that you have seen shortly, which is this button. That code is going to generate that button into our website, into our project, and then we will be able to receive payment from customers. Before I continue, you need to know that PayPal regularly and consistently changes the location of this method in their website. So you need to, sometimes you might not find it here, so you need to look for it. You need to click again on Docs and then Get Started and then look for it. But the method is called Checkout, and then just set up standard payments and then integrate. Now the first step is that we need to get the code from PayPal. So the code is this code. This is the code. Let me show you where is the code. This is the code. The code starts from here. So you need to start copying from here this script and all the way down to the end of the script. You need to scroll and copy all of this code. You need to copy all of this code. Let me copy all of this code. Let me copy all of this code. So we need to get all of this code. Let me copy it. So we need this code. Don't copy the other part. Just copy starting from the script all the way to the end of the script. Copy it. Just copy it. And then you need to head on over to your project and paste it. And I'm going to show you where you need to paste it, because of course you shouldn't paste it in any file. You need to paste it at a specific location. So now in my project, what you need to do is that you need to open up the payment.php. Payment, again, that's payment.php. And then where should you paste it? You should paste it above the footer. Above the footer.php. Here. You should paste it here. Just paste that code here. So now we have this code. So this is the first step. So again, the first step is to get this code. This code is going to generate the button that you have seen. The second step is that we need to get the client ID. So where should we get the client ID? We should get the client ID from the from your account. So let me head on over back to PayPal. So in PayPal, just head on over again to your account and log in, and then click on your project, the project that you are using for this, the project that you have created for this project. So I'm going to click on it. So once you click on it, you will find the sandbox account and the client ID. You need to copy your client ID and head on over back to the project. So let me copy my client ID. Now in your project, you need to paste the client ID. But where should you paste it? You should paste it here. Instead of this test. Here it says client-ID is equal to test. So we need to remove this test and paste here your client ID. As you can see, this is my client ID. Again, you need to be very careful, because if you get this wrong, it's not gonna work. Again, double check your client ID and make sure that you copied your client ID correctly and paste it here. Client ID, client-ID is equal to your client ID that you pasted. This is very, very important. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to show you and I'm going to walk you through the code. So the code is like this. The URL is just going to connect to PayPal, this URL that contains your client ID. And then below this, we have here a div. We need to move this div, but let me delay this because it's going to take a little bit time and you need to understand it. Here we have the script. So this script has a PayPal. It connects to the PayPal and it uses this function called buttons. This function is going to create the button, and this function is going to have a value key, and that value is the amount of money that you will receive. And we need to change this amount depending upon the total amount that the user should pay us. And then we have onApproved function. This function will be called if the payment has been processed successfully. We will get here a data from PayPal telling us that payment was processed successfully and money was transferred from the customer to our account. And in case of error, also this is gonna handle errors in case we have any errors. Here, this is gonna handle any problems.
Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to display the button, the PayPal's button. So I'm gonna copy the button from here. I'm gonna copy the button, and then I'm gonna remove it, and then I'm gonna paste it here below the total. So we need to display it here. Here I'm gonna paste it. So we have the PayPal's button here. Now let's test. So I'm gonna save everything now. Save all, and then I'm gonna head on over to the browser and test. First I'm gonna refresh the products, and then I'm gonna add something to cart. I'm gonna add this to cart. and then I'm gonna check out and fill out this form to see whether the button exists or not. So let me fill out this form. Let me fill out the form. And then I'm going to click on the checkout. If I click on checkout, as you can see, PayPal's button now is being displayed here in the payment page. So whenever the user wants to check out, the button will be displayed. And the good news about this button is that it's not going to be displayed if there is nothing in the cart. For example, if you remove everything from the cart, if you go back to the if you go to the cart page, if you go to the cart and remove everything from the cart, and then try to go to the payment page. Let me go to the payment page. It will not display the button. So the button doesn't exist. Here it says you don't have an order because there is nothing in the cart. To go back to the payment.php code, you will find that here in the PayPal.button, here we have a variable, here we have an object called amount, and inside that object we have key value pair. The key value pair is the value and the amount. So the amount here by default is 77, and of course this is a problem. Instead of saying 77, we need to specify the correct amount. To do this, here after we make sure that the total is not 0, then we need to create a new variable called, here I'm going to say amount, and that amount is going to be equal to the session total. However, it should be converted to a string, so I'm going to say str val, which is going to convert this into a string, and then I'm going to pass the total. I'm going to pass the session total, and that's it. Now we have here a variable called amount. Now this amount can be used here in this value. Instead of saying value 77, we need to remove it, and then we need to say PHP, and then echo, and then we need to echo the amount, this amount. That's it. What you need to understand is that this amount now is associated with the button, and now PayPal knows about this amount, and whenever the user pays, this amount is going to be paid. Then after this, PayPal is going to approve it if nothing goes wrong, and then it's gonna make the transaction and everything, and we don't have to worry about anything else. Welcome back. Now it's time to test payment. So I have added this to cart, pizza with sausage, and then I'm gonna click on checkout, and then I'm gonna fill out this form as usual in order to be able to check out. So let me fill out this form real quick. Here the phone number and the city as well as the address. So let me here type an address, and then what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna click on checkout. So after I click on checkout, as you can see, I will be taken to the payment page, and now in the payment page we have PayPal's button. As you can see, this is PayPal's button. Let me click on it, and I want you to pay attention to what I'm gonna do. First of all, here we need to log in, and in order to log in, you need to use the testing email, the sandbox testing email, and I'm going to show you how you can get that email from. Let me head on over to my account to show you how you can get that email from. You should look for the buyer email. So this is the business email. The business, of course, the business is not going to pay to themselves. The buyer should pay to the business. So let me go back to my account, to my apps, and go to the email. So you need to head on over to your account and then click on accounts under sandbox. Click on accounts, and here you'll find all of your business and personal accounts. So we need to use the personal account. I'm going to copy the email. You need to copy the email, this email. You need to copy it. You need to copy this email. Let me click here on view edit account. And as you can see, this is the total, this is the complete email ID. You need to copy this ID. You need to copy this ID, and you need to know the password, because I'm going to be using these in order to log in and test. So I'm going to copy this. So I'm going to paste the email here. Let me paste the email. This is the testing email. Let me click on next. And then I need to paste the password as well. I need to type the password. So let me head on over back to get the password. Here we have the password. Let me copy the password. So I'm going to paste the password here. And then I'm going to click on login. So now I logged in. As you can see, I logged in successfully. And I want you to pay attention to here the amount. The amount is $13.99. And in my website, the amount is also $13.99, which means that PayPal now knows about the amount that the customer should pay. Also, there are so many options that PayPal provide. PayPal provides customers with so many different ways to pay. PayPal has the balance or the Visa card. There are so many ways, but it doesn't matter, because what matters is that your customers will be able to pay, whether they use the balance or the Visa or whatever method. Let's now test. Let me click on Pay Now and test. I'm going to click on Pay Now. And as you can see here, it says transaction completed, and it returned the transaction ID. As soon as the transaction ID is returned successfully, it means that payment was successful and money has been transferred from the customer to your from the customer's account to your account. So now we integrated PayPal successfully, and now money has been transferred successfully. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to store the transaction ID in the payments table. So, and everything starts from the payment.php here. Upon success, what we need to do is that we need to here say window, and then location dot href is equal to, and then we need to create a new file called complete underscore payment.php. And then we need to take with us the transaction ID that will be returned by PayPal. So I'm going to say here question mark and then transaction underscore ID is equal to, and then I'm going to say plus, and then I'm going to say transaction ID. So this is going to be executed right after the user pays. We just take the user to this new page, which is complete payment. So we need here to create a new file called complete underscore payment.php. And then in this page, the first thing that we need to do, this page, by the way, is going to change the payment status and store the payment information in the database. So first we need to start the session, because I'm going to be using the session, and then we need to include the connection, because obviously we will need to connect to the database. So I'm going to say include connection.php, and then next we need to say if we have the transaction ID, I'm going to say is set, and then get transaction ID if we have the transaction ID here, and also if the order ID, if we have the order ID. So I'm going to say and is set also order ID, order session order ID, because the ID is in the session, the order ID is in the session order ID, and the get transaction is not empty. We can say empty or is not equal to nothing, and also the order ID the session here, by the way, transaction ID and the order underscore ID is not equal to 0. Then we need here to do a very important thing, which is first we need to change payment or order status, I should say, order status to paid. And then the next step is that we need to store payment info. So here the first thing is that we need to change the order status in the orders table. So I'm going to get the order ID first. I'm going to say order ID, but instead of creating new variables, we can immediately use these variables. So I'm just gonna say here statement, because I don't want to repeat the code over and over again. I'm gonna say statement is equal to, and then connection. We need to use the connection and then prepare, and then we need to update. We need to update orders set order status, order underscore status is equal to question mark, where order underscore ID is also equal to question mark. And we need to append these two. So here I'm going to say statement and then bind param, and then we need to bind s. The order status is s, and the order ID is I. So I'm going to say order status. The order status is the order status is going to be paid. So we can here say order status is going to be paid. And the order ID, we can use the session, but I don't want to confuse you, so I'm going to here say order ID. So the order ID is in the session, as I told you. I'm going to say session order ID. So we pass here first the order status and then the order ID. And then we execute this. We say statement and then execute. So this is the first part. The second part is that we need to insert the payment information in the payments table. So in the payments table, we need to create a new statement. I'm going to say statement 1 is equal to, again, connection, prepare, and then insert into payments. What do we want to insert? We want to insert the order ID. We also want to insert the transaction ID, order ID, transaction ID. So we need, in the payments table, we need the order ID, the transaction ID, and the payment date. So to here we need to say payment date, payment underscore date. So we need to create a variable called payment date. I'm going to say here payment underscore date, and it's going to be equal to date, and then you can format this date, year, and month, and day. So this is going to add this, and we need to say values, and the values are question marks. We need 3 question marks, question mark, question mark, question mark. And then in a new line, we need to say statement 1, and then bind param and then we want to bind the order ID is I, the transaction ID is S. This is very important. The transaction ID is going to be a string. So PayPal returns a transaction ID in a form of string. It's not an ID. It's not an ID. You should use S because it's not an ID. It's not an integer. It's a string. The payment date is S, obviously S. So we need to say here order ID and then transaction ID, transaction underscore ID, and then payment date. However, we don't have a transaction ID variable, so we need to create a variable here. We need to say transaction underscore ID is equal to get, and then transaction ID. And we execute this query as well. We say statement and then execute, and that's it. After we execute this second query, all we need to do now is to take the user to a new page that would display thank you for your shopping. So here all I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna say header, and then I'm gonna say location, and then order confirmation, or thank you. You can say thank you. Let's say thank underscore you dot php, or order confirmation, whatever you want to say. So I'm going to say here thank you, and then I'm going to pass a message. I'm going to say message success message is equal to thanks for shopping with us. And finally we need to exit here. Else, if user comes to this page by mistake, or if there is any other problem, we need here to take the user to the home page immediately and do nothing. We just take the user away from this page. We need to say location index.php and exit. And that's it. Now let's create the thank you page. So the thank you page is going to be very similar to the payment page except for a few things. So I'm going to copy the code from the payment page, and then I'm going to create a new page here called thank you.php, and then I'm going to paste the code here, and then we need to remove the PayPal code here. We need to remove this code, and then we need to remove PayPal button here and the amount. Actually, we need just to remove the PayPal button, and at the top we need to check whether here we need to say PHP, and then we need to check whether user made an order or not. So we should say here if the order ID and this code, actually, instead of doing all of this, I'm going to copy all of this code, and then I'm going to here paste it, and then we also need to I think that's it. Here we don't need to do anything else. We just need to check this, and then we need to store the order ID, order underscore ID, in a variable called order ID. So I'm going to say session order ID, order underscore ID is equal to order ID, and also we need to store the total. I'm going to say total is equal to total, and that's it. If you want to display the other information such as the cart, I don't think there is a reason to do this, but if you want, for some reason, you can say products bought, and then you can say session and then cart, and then you can use this later. But after this, here what we want to do is that we want to remove everything from session, because at this point payment has been accepted and order has been issued, everything is fine. So here we need to unset session. Remember here in the cart we had a code like this. Let me just I want you to pay attention to this here. Whenever we removed something from the cart, we said session unset session cart and then the product ID. Here we are doing the same. We are saying here session unset and then cart. However, we don't want to, instead of removing every single thing using the unset, we can use a function called here session destroy, and this is gonna remove everything from the session. And also I think there is a great function called session unset. We can say session unset first, session unset, and then session destroy. These two functions will destroy everything and remove everything from the session without the need of destroying or removing every single thing from the cart and from the session. And that's it. Now here we no longer need this code. Instead, we just need to display the here we need to remove this. Instead, what we want to do is that we want here we need to say else. By the way, we need here to say else. Else we just take the user to the home page. Else we say in the header location index.php, and by the way, we have a success message. Remember, we have here a success message in the complete payment, which is the message to display this as well. So here what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna say echo, and then what I'm gonna echo is that I'm gonna echo the order ID. I'm gonna say here echo order ID, and I'm gonna say here PHP. First I'm gonna say order ID here, order underscore order ID. First here I'm gonna say order ID, and then append order ID, and then I'm gonna say PHP, and then I'm gonna tell the user please keep order ID in save place for future inquiries or future reference. And we also need to say here thanks for shopping with us. We can say here PHP, and then if is set get, and then success message. Then we need to echo this success message. We need to say here echo, and then we need to echo we need to say here PHP, and then in between we need to say P, and then let's say H3, and then PHP, and then echo get, and then success message. And we display also the order ID, and then keep the order ID in a safe place. And then here you can, if you want to display this one more time, the amount, you can say here amount paid, and then you can use the total, but I don't think there's a reason to, so I'm gonna remove this. There is no reason to do this. Now let me save and let's test. Let me now click on save all, and let's test this. So this is gonna be displayed to the user, but by the way, here we need to use paragraph as well. Here we need to say P, and then inside that paragraph we need to say echo PHP echo, and here paragraph. and here also paragraph, I'm gonna say P, and then here P. And let's test now. So everything is perfect, I think. So here I forgot the semicolon here, and also here semicolon. And what else do we want to do? Let me check again one more time, because we don't want to have any typos here. So we have the header, we have the session start, we have everything here, echo get, and actually here I forgot to close the curly bracket. So here we need to close the curly bracket. Here, don't forget to close the curly bracket. The payment, in the payment page, we need to say window location href, and then complete payment.php, and then transaction ID. So we have a problem here. So the problem is that here I should say transaction.id. So as you can see, a simple error could ruin our website. So here transaction ID, because transaction.id, because here we are using JavaScript. So here transaction.id. Also here we need to say transaction, not transaction. SAC, we need to say transaction. So I have here a spelling error, transaction ID. Also in the complete payment, I have the same problem. I should say transaction, and here transaction, and here transaction. So this error is going to ruin our code. So I'm going to say transaction, and here also I should say transaction. So this should fix this. And we also, by the way, we also don't need this. We don't need this part. We need to remove this part, because we don't need to check here whether it's empty or not, because it's set here. We don't have to worry about this because it's gonna be set. And the order ID also, the order ID, at this point the order ID is for sure is not empty. So also this is not mandatory. We just need to say if it's set. And then we need to save, and also in the thank you page, we need here to say for the h3, I'm gonna say style, and then color, and then I'm gonna use the green color. I'm gonna say green. And let me now save, and let me head on over to the browser. But before, we just need to say is set transaction ID, and also is set session order ID. These are the most important things, and we just need to check whether they are set or not, because at this point they are definitely set.
Welcome back. Now it's time to test payment from the very beginning. So first of all, I have added this pizza to cart. I'm gonna buy this pizza with sausage, and I'm gonna buy 2 pizzas. So here 2, each costs $13.99. So the total is $27.98. Let me click on checkout, and let me fill out this form as usual. So I'm gonna fill out this form as usual. In order to continue, customers have to fill out this form completely. So let me now click on checkout. Now I will be taken to the payment page, and now I need to click on PayPal's button in order to pay. Let me click on PayPal's button, and now I need to log in. Let me log in. So I'm gonna log in here, and then let me check the total. So the total that I should pay is, as we have seen, was $27.98, and that's correct. Let me now click on Pay Now. By the way, before I click on Pay Now, sometimes when you click on Pay Now, it just keeps loading and it doesn't continue. It just keeps loading and loading and loading. If this happens to you, then you need to close down this window, and then you need to click on the button one more time. This happens only in the testing environment, but in the live environment it's okay. There's no problem. This isn't gonna happen. Let me click on Pay Now, and as you can see, I will be taken to the thank you page, and here I'm displaying this message: thanks for shopping with us, and the order ID is 58. And what's important also is that you need to display when you are going to deliver the food. So here I displayed, we will deliver your meals within 30 minutes. So this message is very important. You need to display this message in the thank you page. So in the thank you page, you need to say something like this: we will deliver your meals within
1 hour, 2 hours, 30 minutes. It depends upon how fast your service is. Let's now check the database. So I'm going to open the database and check the database. So let me here refresh the orders table. So the last order number 58, remember order number 58. So order number 58 paid. As you can see here, it says paid. Paid because I paid. The amount is $27.98, that's correct, and then my name, email, phone number, city and address, and time. Let's check the order items. Order items. So let me check the order items. So the item that I bought was pizza with sausage, and I bought 2. Each one costs $13.99, so that's correct. Let's now check the payments table. I'm going to open the payments table. So let me check the payments table. So in the payments table, order number 58, the total is the time has been stored. Also the transaction ID. The transaction ID is very important because as I told you, the transaction ID is important if you want to inquire about anything. And if you want to contact PayPal regarding anything, you need to use the transaction ID. And the transaction ID is a great indicator that money has been transferred. Whenever you have a transaction ID, it means that money was transferred by PayPal from the customer's account to your account. So now we have integrated PayPal successfully, and now money will be transferred from the buyer's account or the customer account to your account. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to store also the exact time at which an order is made. So for example, if user bought at 9 in the morning, we need to store that in the database because this is important. You need to know the exact time, because if you know the exact time, you will be very quick in terms of delivering the products to your customers. So here in the complete payment, in the payment date here, we need to say YMD, and then we need to say H, and then I, and then S. H stands for hours, I stands for minutes, S stands for seconds. That way you will store everything in the database. You will store the exact time. You will store the time using the hours and the minutes and the seconds. So the exact time will be stored in the database. The second thing that we need to do is that in the place order, we need to do the same thing. In the place order, we need to say here, remember, we have this order date, we need to say YMD, and then H, and then I, and then S. Again, H stands for hours, I for minutes, and S for seconds. And that's it. The second thing that we need to do is that in the database, you need to make sure that your order date, make sure that it's date time. So in the orders table, you need to open the orders table and then make sure that the order date is date time. If it's not, you need to click on change and then change it to order time, to date time. Change this to date time. Make sure that it's date time. Also in the payments table, you need to open the payments table and then click on click on structure, and then make sure that the payment date here is date time. You need to click on change and make sure that it's date time. Make sure that it's date time. Make sure that this is date time. That way you will store the exact time. You will store the hours and minutes and the seconds. So in the database, it will not just store the date, it will also store, as you can see, it will not only store the date, it will also store the hours, the minutes, and the seconds. That way you will be very quick and you will know exactly when a customer made an order, and that way you will start delivering the products so quickly. And this is crucial in today's e-commerce websites. You have to be very quick. Welcome back. Now, in order to go live and receive real money from people, you need to change the sandbox environment into the live environment. So you need to head on over to your PayPal developer account and then click or select the live in my environment, and then you will find all of your apps. Click on the app that you created. So I'm going to click on my app, and then you will find your PayPal account as well as your client ID. What we need is your client ID. So you need to copy your client ID. You need to copy it, and then what you need to do is that you need to replace the sandbox client ID, which is this. You need to remove it from here. You need to remove it from here, and be careful. You need to remove only the client ID. You have to be very, very careful. And here, make sure that it says here client-id is equal to, and then and. Between these, you need to paste your client ID, your live client ID. You need to copy it and paste it here in between. So I'm going to do this step, and then I'm going to come back to you. So after you paste your live credential here, your live client ID here, now let's test. So let's now test the live environment. So I'm gonna buy something. I'm gonna buy, for example, I'm gonna buy this. Let's buy this. I'm gonna click on order this, and then I'm gonna click on checkout, and then I'm gonna fill out the form as usual. Let me fill out this form. And the city also, and the address. Let me click on checkout. Now, after I click on checkout, I will have PayPal's button. Let me click on it. I want you to notice the difference. Let me click on the PayPal's button and show you the difference. So as you can see, now we have PayPal, we have this window. The difference now is that now I'm using paypal.com, which is the live environment, meaning that if I log in now and pay, real money will be transferred from my account to the owner of this website's account. So now I'm using the live environment, and I'd recommend being ready. If you want to use the live environment, you need to be ready, because if customers pay you, you need to deliver the food to your customers. So this is how you can integrate PayPal using the live environment, and this is how you can use the live environment. But again, don't use the live environment unless you are 100% ready, because you will have real customers, and your customers expect you to deliver the food to them. So you need to be ready. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to activate the buttons that we have in our website. So we have here home, menu, about, contact. We need to activate these, as well as any button that we have in our project. So I'm going to open up the project, and then first we need to open the header. So I'm going to open the header, and in the header you'll find that we have 4 buttons. We have menu, we have home, about, contact. So the home page, we need to say href index.php, not HTML. So I'm going to say index.php here, PHP. For the menu, we need to say, instead of menu.html, we need to say products.php. For the about, we need to say about.php. And for the contact, we need to say contact.php. However, we need to convert here, we need to convert the about to about.php. So I'm going to rename this to about, from about.html to about.php. Also the contact, we need to do the same thing. I'm going to rename the contact. So I'm going to rename it, I'm going to say contact.php. Now in the browser, if you, let me save first. Now in the browser, if you refresh first, and then if you click on home, it's gonna just refresh the page, because the home is this page. And if you click on menu, it's gonna take you to the menu, which is the products.php. This is the menu. As you can see, you will find all meals here. If you click on about, it's gonna take you to the about page. So the about page looks like this. Of course, the about page can be different, and it's gonna depend upon how you want the page to be. So I'm not gonna work on it because it's gonna be different from one person to another. The only thing that we need to do with the about page is that we need to remove this part, and then we need to say PHP, and then include, and then we need to include the header.php. With the footer, we need to do the same thing. We need to remove this part, and then we need to say PHP, and then include, and then we need to include the footer.php. We need to do the same thing with the contact page. So I'm going to open the contact page. First, let me show you the contact page. Again, the contact page is going to be contact.php, and you need to add the contact information. So you need to add email, phone number, and website. So in the contact page, first in the header, we need to make sure that it's contact.php. Now in the contact, we need to remove the header, this header, with the navigation bar, and then we need to say PHP, and then include, and then we need to include the header. I'm gonna say header.php. With the footer, we need to do the same thing. I'm gonna remove this part, and then I'm gonna say PHP, and then include, and then what I'm gonna include is that I'm gonna include the footer. I'm gonna say footer.php, and we are done. Now if you click on contact, it's gonna take you to the contact page. Let me first refresh, and then let me click on contact. As you can see, it's gonna take you to the contact. If you click on about, it's gonna take you to the about page. If you click on menu, it's gonna take you to the menu. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to allow customers to add meals to cart from the home page. So this is the home page. We need to activate the menu also from the home page. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to open the index.php. Let me open the index.php. Now in the index.php, you'll find that we have this part, this section, which is called hot pizza meals. So let me here search for hot pizza meals. So this part. So in this part, what we need to do is that we need to remove all of these meals. Let me remove all of them. We have 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. So we have almost 6. We have these meals. So we need to remove them. And keep only 1. So I'm gonna remove all of these and keep only 1. And then I'm gonna use if you recall earlier we created a file called get products, which gonna get all of the products. So I'm gonna say here PHP, and then include, and then what I'm gonna include is that I'm gonna include the get underscore products dot PHP, and then I'm going to loop over the products. So I'm gonna say PHP, and then for each products as product, and then curly bracket, only one curly bracket, and then here we need to close the curly bracket here, PHP, and then close the curly bracket. Now in between we need to pull out the information. So I'm gonna start with the here with the image. I'm gonna say assets / images, and then / and then the name here we need to say PHP, and then echo and then we need to echo the product, and then product image, product underscore image, exactly as we did, if you recall, as we did with the products.php. In the products.php we did this earlier, as you can see here, product image, and then semicolon at the end. With the name we need to say here PHP, and then echo, and then we need to echo the product, and then product name, product underscore name. Next we need to echo the description, which is this instead of this text. So I'm gonna say PHP, and then echo, and then what I'm gonna echo is that I'm gonna echo the product, and then product description, and then semicolon. Next we need to echo the name, we need to echo the price here. I'm gonna say PHP, and then echo, and then product, and then product price, product underscore price. And then the button, for the button what we need to do is that we need to create a form instead of the button. So instead of this button we need to create a form. We need to say here form, and then inside that form we need input, and that input is going to be the submit, or we can alternatively we can create a button, and then we can give this button type submit, and here we can say order, and we can give it this class. We can say class, and the class is going to be ml2 btn white, and then btn outline white, and then I'm going to remove this button. Let me now save and test. So let me here refresh, and let's check the button, the menu. As you can see, this is the real menu. We have the products from the database. Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to activate these buttons in the home page. So the process is very simple because we have already worked on this. If you open the products, you find that we already have this form. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to copy this form from the products.php. I'm going to copy it, and then in the index.php I'm going to remove this form, and I'm going to remove this button. I'm going to remove them, and then I'm going to paste the form. Here I'm going to paste the form. So as you can see, the form will be in the index.php, which is the home page. Let me save and test. Let me now head on over to the browser and test. I'm going to refresh, and then I'm going to click on order, one of these order buttons. For example, this one. I'm going to click on order, and boom, as you can see, the product has been added to cart. Pizza has been added to cart, and now your customers will be able to add products to cart from the home page.